Wilson A2000 versus the Wilson A2K. Let's get to it. When it comes to Rawlings, the Pro Preferred and the Heart of the Hide are actually just two different types of leather. The Heart of the Hide is steer hide, while the Pro Preferred is actually kip leather. Wilson actually takes a different route. They're actually the same leathers, there's just a different grade. So naturally, the A2K should be better than the A2000 because it costs more. Just so you guys know, these are actually both the same model. So here we have the KBH13, this is the Brian Hayes model, and then this here is the MC26, the Matt Chapman model. So I know they have different names, but they're actually the same glove. They're both the 1787, which means it's 11 3/4 inches, perfect for third base, but you could also use it at short or second if you needed to. The 1787 A2K is actually my top third baseman's glove right now. I absolutely love it. One thing that's nice is that they both have black palms. This is gonna make it easier to see how they handle the 1,000 catch test. So yes, they're super similar, but these gloves definitely have a different feel. Let me explain it a little bit here. So an A2K almost always has a little bit of a thicker and softer feel. I personally kind of like that, but then the A2000 actually has a little bit of a stiffer and harder feel. What I don't know is which one is going to actually last longer. Just to be clear, our A2000 has super snakeskin on the back. This is going to make the glove a little bit looser, a little bit faster, so I'm going to keep that in mind as we're testing durability. Also, as you're watching me break this in, I should mention that A2000s tend to be harder to break in than an A2K. Like I mentioned, that A2K tends to be softer and a little bit more comfortable. The break-in process tends to be just a little bit easier with it. One problem we have is the A2K is actually a little bit more broken in than the A2000, so we need to do some work on this so it's a level playing field. Welcome to my creepy basement. So our Brian Hayes model needs a little bit more work before we actually do the 1,000 catches, but I noticed one thing that's actually different between the gloves. The KBH13 is actually laced up a little bit tighter. You can see there's no extra holes versus here, boom, yeah, the extra set. Our MC26 closes thumb to pinky. I'm gonna do the same thing with this glove. We just want them to be as similar as possible. The glove closes pretty easy. It's not that hard, but it's super annoying because there's this one little piece right here in the palm that's just like extra stiff, like it pushes against my palm. So I just kind of have to break in that palm area, and then they should be pretty dang similar and ready to go. Okay, honestly, I think we're ready to go to actually use the pitching machine. Let's get to it. A little bonus, you guys, I'm actually working on this Ichiro model, 1 of 18. Really excited about this video. We've taken 500 balls off the pitching machine, and I think I've seen everything I need to. I should probably go the next 500 to hit 1,000, but I need to update you guys. I genuinely was not expecting to have like this kind of crazy of a result, but A2Ks are so far my preferred, and after doing this, it's staying that way. Part of my process is every 50 balls, I kind of give a little bit of an update if there is one. So I'm gonna read off exactly what happened. So after 100 catches, the balls were starting to stretch out the web and then also the finger, specifically our index finger here. And then it stayed that way for the next couple hundred, and it was at 250 where a ball actually got stuck in the web. And here's a video of it. This is one of the downsides of an I web. This is definitely one of its weaknesses. Like an H web, that's not gonna happen. A modified trap, it's not gonna happen. But then at 400, my exact words were, web is starting to get loose again. And then I kid you not, between 400 and 450, 2 balls went through the web completely. And no, I didn't get these on video, but they shot through that web. It didn't just sneak through, it plunged through that thing. So naturally, I tightened it again, but you guys, these laces just keep pulling and pulling and pulling. No matter how many times I tighten them, they will just stretch out more and more. On the other hand, I did 500 with our A2K, and let me just show you, at 300, the index finger is starting to pull back a little bit, but that was it. So when it comes to laces, I'm actually surprised to say that the A2K laces seem to be better. I don't know why they wouldn't just use the same laces. Who knows? This could be a goof. Maybe this one just happens to stink. But with this all being said, you need to hear this. There were 3 gloves last year in the MLB that busted a lace in game, and all 3 of them were Wilson. That's not good. With the whole laces thing, I need to mention something. I used Rawlings gloves for 1,000 catches. No problem at all with any laces stretching out, busting, not even close. Wilson struggled through the 1,000 catch test and had problems in the MLB, so it just shows that there's clearly something a little bit wrong with their laces. They're not awful, they're not the worst thing in the world, they're just not the best. I actually forgot to mention a few more of the differences between these gloves, so let's cover those. All A2Ks have a palm pad in them that is just not in A2000s. It must make a big difference because all my A2Ks have these nice, just
flush palms, and all my A2000s have like edges in the palm where you can tell the glove closes here and here. It'll definitely go away over time. Naturally, as you use the glove, it'll loosen up, but for a while, it's just uncomfortable. This is a pretty small difference, but let me show you. A2Ks and A2000s have actual different thumb styles. So you'll see the thumb on our A2K, just one solid piece all the way through the wrist. Whereas on this A2000, we have the cutoff. I personally like this look more. It's more of a looks thing. So whenever you see a glove, even if you can't see the top of it, you'll be able to tell if it's an A2K or an A2000 just from the side. I forgot to mention, we did do 1,000 catches with each glove. I'll give you the update. We have our A2000 here at 700 internals, starting to push out of index. Then we were good all the way till 900. I wrote down, struggling to close thumb to pinky because it stretches the index finger too far back. I generally don't think the difference is the leather itself, but it's the internals of the glove combined with super snakeskin. So Wilson will brand super skin as being durable, and they're right, because when it comes to like weather and things like that, it's way less affected by it. If you just sat leather outside on your porch and sat super skin outside on your porch, the super skin is gonna look way better over time. With that being said though, I think super skin is actually quite stretchy. Gloves with super skin tend to get floppier sooner, and the leather itself just stretches out a little bit more. So when it's hitting that finger, it just pushes back so far. It makes me wonder if a ball can fit through here. I'm not sure. So I don't think that the A2000 leather itself is the problem, but with that being said, I've had A2000s that feel really, really good, and I've had A2000s kind of like this one that I'm really not impressed by. For example, the DP15 that I reviewed a little bit ago was actually super nice. It was all white. It was actually like a custom A2000, and it felt great. I've talked to a few guys who have been repairing gloves their whole life, and they've said the same thing about A2000s. They're inconsistent. And then we have our A2K. The only thing I had to do was tighten the web up at 600. Other than that, perfect. As you can see, the leather itself looks great. I mean, there's no major damage whatsoever. This like big white scuff over here, that's just like from the ball itself. That's not the leather. Boom. And then our A2K, you can actually see it looks pretty much exactly the same. This glove definitely had more than 1,000 catches in on it because I've used it a little bit before this video. With that being said though, you guys, I honestly think that both Wilsons performed pretty well when it comes to the leather itself. Our only problem was the laces on that A2000. Having to retighten it that many times really kind of stinks. I'm not a fan of that. The laces actually hit a point where I don't have to tighten it up anymore because I think if it stretches out anymore, it'll just bust. Guys, little side note, if you've just been going ham on your glove or the 1,000 catches, for example, treat your glove nicely, condition it. For example, all I'm doing with this is conditioning the palm because that's where all the stress has been. But for everybody who's actually using their glove outside, in game, in practice, condition the back of your glove as well. Let's do the math really quick. The A2K has better internals, it has better laces, it's more comfortable, and it's more durable. I mean, it's literally blowing the A2000 out of the water. I know it costs more money, but at this point, I don't really want to suggest people to get an A2000 because like I said, there's some A2000s that are really nice, but you have the chance of having an A2000 that doesn't feel very good, and I've never had an A2K that seems like it has worse or bad leather in any way. Ugh. I currently have the 1787 A2K as my #1 ranked third base glove, and I'm not going to be changing that. The problem is right now the #3 ranked glove for outfielders is this Wilson A2000 1799. I don't like that. Like we said, this is not trash, but it's not top 3 worthy, so I gotta change that soon.
Thank you for watching. I really appreciate all of your time and commitment to me.